Howdy, pilgrims. Hope everyone is having a great week.
Yeah, first up on this week's dose, we will break down Suno, an AI-powered music creation platform hot off their $125 million Series B led by Lightspeed Venture Partners.
Oh, baby, that's a big Series B. Next up, you'll hear about Zen Educate, a London-based online marketplace that connects schools with teachers after announcing a $37 million Series B led by Round 2 Capital. And lastly, stick with us for a Pillfolio update, this time on Honey Homes, the membership service that provides homeowners with on-demand access to a dedicated handyman that we first covered back on episode 75 almost a year ago. They just raised a 9.25 Series A1 extension led by Era Ventures.
The Pillfolio continues to need updating. That's always a good sign. And that's a wrap for this week's breakdown. Excited to dive on in.
Let's get into it, partner.
You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
This is Venture Pill, your weekly dose of startups and venture capital. We break down recent startups in the news and interview founders and investors to help you stay informed in the evolving world of venture.
All right, kicking off this week's dose, we have Suno, a music creation platform which just closed $125 million in Series B funding led by Lightspeed Venture Partners. So Suno launched actually less than a year ago by a team of 4 former Kensho employees, which is a financial AI company. So they came in with a strong shared technical background, but they also realized they had a strong shared passion for music. And as an example, and this is from the article that we have linked in our show notes, Mikey Schulman, the CEO of Suno, spent years performing in New York City and therefore knows the struggle firsthand. And that is making and distributing music is super hard, even for the professionals at the top of their game.
Right, and so the 4 of them set out to make making music accessible for all. Everyone from your most tone-deaf friend who you wish would just shut up already and stop singing, to widely renowned artists. And with recent advancements in AI, the technology now exists to allow people like you and I to create a song, much like you would tell ChatGPT to create an email or an article, with as little as a simple text prompt. And anyone can use the platform by signing up for free on their website.
Yeah, I was already playing around with it a little bit. It is pretty cool. And there's like some pretty good songs on there that you can just browse and listen to. It reminded me a bit of SoundCloud, a similar look and feel to it in terms of the music discovery. But the music creation is wild. So excited to play around with that a little bit more. And so a little bit more on the vision here. The founders of Suno really see this advancement in technology as just another step in the history of music technology advancement. So no different from the creation of new instruments over the course of history, or like more recently with the rise in electronic music, and how that's been met by critics who may have said over the years that, well, that's not real music, you know, all that new techno music. But really, over the course of time, new technology, just like in general, it faces criticism up front. It might be rejected, but ultimately that most of the inventions and advancements in music have now been accepted as a part of making music today. So that's just a long way of saying this is just another advancement in music tech that they believe will be widely adopted here very soon.
Yeah, what is that crazy music our wacky kids are listening to these days, right? Who would bother listening to that techno? No, it feels like a perpetual struggle. I think our parents argued with theirs probably about rock and roll, and their parents might have argued with theirs about classical music or whatever the new music was at the time. But it does feel like that is some things never change. People are always, the younger generations are always pushing some new sounds out there. Yeah. I know you and I have been a part of the rise in the electronic techno space, or at least I certainly have been.
Yeah, I know you have.
Yeah. But yeah, so I really need to check out Suno, see if I agree. I want to see what I can play around with on there. But getting into the product a little bit more, the beauty of what Suno is doing here, and specifically what Lightspeed liked a lot about the investment opportunity, is the fact that they are truly raising the tide, thereby, as you know, lifting all of the boats from beginners like me to novices like yourself, all the way up to the pros and some pretty famous music.
I thought you were going to say to pros like yourself.
You're getting there. You're definitely getting there. I like what you've been cooking thus far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everyone thinks they're a pro, right? I'm definitely the friend that others may wish would just shut up and stop singing already. But again, the beauty in this platform is that this is really, it encompasses every fan of music, again, from beginners all the way to established pros. And this is not just a platform that allows anyone to make a random song from one prompt. Sure, like that is great, and you can certainly have a lot of fun doing that. But this is also a tool that's used by varying levels of musicians to streamline the creative process.
Yeah. In addition, they're streamlining the distribution process. So Suno really believes this is a tool to start, but a catalyst for the music industry is kind of the long-term vision, tying it back to that. And they've had some really strong traction over these first several months. Over 10 million people have used Suno. They inked a partnership with Microsoft for the software to be embedded and available with Microsoft's Copilot. Obviously, they've raised this huge round so early on from a very respectable list of investors. And we also want to mention they have an impressive set of advisors, too, from both the music industry and the technology space. So to name a couple, Flostradamus and Aravind Srinivas. So Flostradamus, like a DJ of sorts, or I don't even know if that's the right term. There was just this one song in high school for our workout playlist that was Flostradamus, a remix. So that name jumped off the page for me. And then, of course, said right alongside Aravind Srinivas, the founder of Perplexity AI. So classic combination there for the Pilgrims.
Yeah, a great 1-2 punch there. I think a good kind of microcosm of the beginners to the pros. Just really, this encompasses anyone that likes music or AI technology as well. And a lot of strong indicators and buy-in. You mentioned Aravind Srinivas and the partnership with Microsoft. And honestly, I love this platform. I mean, people who have heard me auxing at a party playing some music know that I'm a big fan of SoundCloud. Have been for a while now, back to the high school days. Similar remixes you were mentioning, you listening with your baseball team, like similar deal for me with basketball and soccer as well. But the beauty of SoundCloud is that there are so many just random remixes out there, and just people making crazy but also amazing music, trying things out. Like, it's not quite Spotify. It has a little bit more of a kind of recreational feel to it. And this feels like this is just widening and expanding that concept even further. Like, you're leveraging AI to help get some reps out, make some noises. And I think, if you're a fan of music, it's worth at least checking out and just seeing what's going on over there.
Yeah. And this is only truly the very early innings. So like we just mentioned, extremely good traction early on. And I think they put it nicely in their investment fundraising announcement. Is like, they've had this much success so far, like they can't imagine what it's going to look like with $125 million and all these investors behind them now. So yeah, seriously, we'll be keeping tabs. Not that we don't seriously keep tabs on everybody.
Yeah. What are you implying?
Nothing, no implications. You'll hear later we've kept tabs on another Pillfolio company we're going to be updating on. So yeah, but this one holds a special place in our hearts, kind of taking AI and what we've been covering for really the last almost year for this craze. But one that jumped off the page for us was with music. And I think it's these specialty applications that will be very interesting. We didn't get into the competitive landscape, but obviously some big players in general in AI that are potentially going to get into music. So it'll be interesting to see how they can fend off those competitors. I'm sure that's why they've raised so much to really be able to put up a good fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like it's been a rising kind of legal hot button issue, which is the cross section of music and AI, right? People creating fake songs by Drake and Elvis and whoever it may be. So I'm curious, like, I imagine I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here that they have factored that in, but I'm curious what kind of legal ramifications might be implied with this type of platform, but it'll be interesting to see. And they've got a lot of money to, afford lawyers if they need to, but hopefully they don't.
Yeah, it is the Wild West out there. You bring up a good point. Yeah. I mean, it seemed to be just AI generated voices, but at what point does the voice that sounds like Elvis become Elvis's voice being reused,
Right.
So,
and making money off of that, it definitely is a bit of a wormhole.
Yeah. Yeah. But an exciting, very unique company to cover today to kick this one off, partner.
Yep, agreed. Let's move on to our second story for this week's dose. We have Zen Educate, a London-based online marketplace that connects schools with teachers that just raised a $37 million Series B, led by Round 2 Capital, with participation from Adjuvo, Bright Eye Ventures, FJ Labs, Ascension Ventures, as well as several angels. The raise comes amidst a growing teacher shortage in the United States and the UK, with a recent report from the ADP Research Institute indicating that the pandemic exacerbated an issue that was already present, being the existing supply and demand imbalance in the teaching industry, mostly due to stagnant wages and a stressful work environment. Also, with the pandemic, a lot of teachers might have gone into an early retirement or stepped away from, just even further lowered the supply of teachers in the space.
Yeah. I mean, anecdotally, I have had a couple of friends that I can think of who taught during the pandemic and got very frustrated, burnt out for good reason, and have since left the teaching profession. In addition, some coworkers of mine, obviously we're in education technology at Interplay, a lot of former teachers, and I know that they're a lot happier with their lives working for us. And I mean, that's great for them. Like, I support all them, but we need more teachers. And so this is a pressing issue. A little bit more of the backstory. This was founded out of London in 2017, and it was built to replace traditional third-party recruitment agencies that often use analog workflows and charge exorbitant fees. And so Zen Educate digitizes everything through a self-serve platform, removing pricey intermediaries from the equation in the process. And through the platform, teachers and schools create profiles, and then Zen Educate can automatically match the two entities based on their compatibility, using data like proximity, skills, experience, among others. It kind of sounds like a dating app for teachers and schools to get connected.
Yeah, it sounds like a Hinge. Also sounds a little bit like an Uber with the flexible hours that teachers can take on through the platform. True. Say it with me, Sam. Down with big third-party recruitment agencies.
Wow, you really know how to coin a slogan.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. But moving forward a little bit more specifically on the product here, schools can use Zen Educate to hire for full-time roles, but also on the flip side, teachers can also use it to more easily find temporary or part-time roles that fit around their lives. So again, this is where the Uber comparison comes into play. They know that they'll be available 2 days a week for certain hours. They'll hop on Zen Educate and find a part-time role that matches their schedule. Also, according to the company's co-founder and CEO, Slava Kremerman, Zen Educate takes roughly half of the cut rate that current agencies take, which helps teachers earn higher wages and on the other side helps schools save money. And for reference, just a note here, the average incumbent third-party agency take rate is between 35 to 38%, which is quite significant. And so it seems like Zen Educate is roughly around that 20%, almost half of the take rate that these incumbent agencies may take.
Yeah, I mean, that percentage right there alone is good reason for your so nicely worded slogan. Down with big third-party... What was it? Down with big whatever you said.
Down with big third-party recruitment agencies. Of course.
Of course.
We've been saying that.
Yeah. So we can certainly get behind that mission right there. And so to highlight a little bit of recent expansion, they last raised a $21 million Series A back in late 2022 as they sought to expand into the U.S. market with a soft launch in Minneapolis. Oh, yeah, in the land of 10,000. But today they operate across 4 more states, including Texas,
Texas,
Colorado, California, and Arizona, as well as 11 regions in the homeland, the kingdom, United
just across
Kingdom.
the pond.
Yeah, just a stone's throw away. And the platform is actually working with 9 of the top 200 largest school districts in the United States. So pretty legit success so far.
Right, and with $37 million in fresh capital, the startup plans to expand into more markets across the United States and the United Kingdom, as well as launch new software for school administrators, which includes adding to its school workforce management software, which features tools like credentialing, compliance, and absence management. Also, Zen Educate is bolstering its platform and resources through acquisitions with the purchase of a teacher staffing agency called Aquinas Education. And the company also mentioned that they intend to stay active in the acquisition space in both the United States and the UK.
It's not too often we cover an acquisition. One that comes to mind of recent coverage by us is I'm forgetting what it's called, but the drone roofing company that actually bought Roofer, obviously.
How could you forget?
Roofer, the drone roofing company that actually bought a roofing company to go hand in hand with its technology. So it's not too uncommon, but it is noteworthy. So glad you mentioned that there, partner. But yeah, so far, just to wrap up a bit, they've had big impact. They've saved schools $15 million to date, operate with over 1,000 schools worldwide. We mentioned some of the big districts here in the U.S., probably looking to grow into more of that top 200. And, this did remind us of a similar gig economy style platform as Campus, like how Campus, which is kind of like an online community college, we've covered a couple of times, another Pillfolio update we did recently, but how professors can find work that suits their schedule, that earns them a little bit more through this gig economy style. It's sort of similar in some ways.
Yeah, it's a good call out, and I think just such a great application of the gig economy Uber model, whatever framework you may want to put it in. But yeah, helping teachers or professors supplement their income. We spent a little bit last time with Campus talking about how underpaid professors and teachers are, or at least how it feels like they should be paid more. And so this is a great way for them to they're already working professionally as teachers or professors. So why not just continue to do that, take on a little more work and, help add some padding to the wallet as well.
Yeah. So multifaceted mission here, a true win-win-win of sorts, maybe some other wins to come to add to that equation, but love what Zen Educate is doing here. Thanks to the blokes out in the UK.
Me thinks me likey, this platform.
I know we got some UK listeners out there. Hopefully that's all right with our really good accents.
Yeah. Hopefully that's interpreted with love. We do sprinkle in a me thinks me likey pretty frequently.
Yeah. Good stuff.
For our third and final company on this week's dose, we have a Pillfolio update. Another one. The Pillfolio is hot. You mentioned it at the top of the episode, but man, oh man, I wish we had some money behind this Pillfolio. Things are looking good.
No, money doesn't matter when you've got a track record, passion,
It's true.
Pride, passion.
It's true. We're building a reputation right now.
Reputation, that's what I was looking for, yeah.
There it is. Anyway, this week's Pillfolio update comes in the form of an update on Honey Homes, which just raised a $9.25 million Series A1 extension led by Era Ventures, joined by Coastal Ventures and Pear VC. This is actually for those two VC firms. That's them tripling down on their investment in Honey Homes. So clearly they're liking what they're seeing, and believe in the initiative here. And so we're going to start with a brief recap from last time just to set the scene on Honey Homes and what they do. So Honey Homes is a membership service that provides homeowners with on-demand access to a dedicated handyman. The startup hires their handymen as salaried employees, which ensures consistency and quality of work and also trust with the homeowners, right? Additionally, this is a cool win that we liked to highlight last time, Because the handyman are salaried through Honey Homes, they're also eligible to receive benefits, which is a rarity in an industry that's typically relied on contractors and, doesn't usually have things like benefits and paid time off and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's great. And so a little bit more about how it works. Homeowners pay a monthly subscription fee for the convenience of this membership-based end-to-end service. It lets the homeowner create a to-do list and schedule appointments. Also helps pair homeowners with specialists if needed. I know we're going to talk about some updates there. And the handyman comes by at least once a month to take care of home improvements, preventative maintenance, making sure everything's in tip-top shape. They take care of things like broken appliances, cleaning gutters, assembling furniture, fixing leaky faucets, much more. So there's quite a lot that they handle for, and it's really that peace of mind that the homeowner is paying for.
Right. Those were some classic maintenance requests right there. That is, That is precisely the type of job that you call a handyman in for, and much more. And so we're going to end this recap with highlighting the traction that they were experiencing last time. Again, we covered this company almost a year ago back on episode 75, so it was 2023. So in the past 2 years leading up to then, the company had grown to more than 500 members and had completed over 20,000 tasks for homeowners. Additionally, in 2022, the company grew members by 8x and had already almost doubled that in 2023. Okay, so that is the recap from last time. Now let's move forward to the update, starting with, again, this $9.25 million recent fundraise. So what drove the latest influx of capital? In short, it was due to a surge in member adoption. Last fall, the company announced that it had doubled its member count in a 3-month period to well over 1,000 members. They also announced that annual recurring revenue had increased by 3.6x in 2023.
That is fantastic growth for a year, and it's awesome to check back in and see those numbers and that growth. The company did decline to share hard revenue figures, but the CEO said that they expect to do the same and get to 8 figures in ARR in 2024. So that growth machine is going. So they needed to get a little bit more funding here. They've been visiting over 150 homes per day, covering about 5 times more homes in their service area than they were a year ago. And the platform launched in San Francisco earlier this year. Now the city represents its fastest growing market. So a lot of areas of growth and indicators that this thing is moving quickly.
Yeah, a lot of exciting points there. When we were diving into this, they actually mentioned they had a little bit of concerns with jumping into San Francisco, it being a crowded city, not to mention certain areas maybe, more subject to crime or things like that. But it has been a very pleasant surprise for the company with the results they've seen in San Francisco thus far, it being their fastest growing market. But building on top of that, with this new raise, the company also announced that they are adding new features, such as AI that aims to streamline workflow for its handy person team and put more of the maintenance needs on autopilot. Feels like every startup has to build out some kind of AI functionality these days.
Yeah.
Also of note here, just to provide a little color commentary, the company decided to raise an extension round rather than a full-blown Series B after deciding that it needed less capital to get to profitability than expected. So they're not profitable yet, but they are aiming to be profitable within the next couple of years. So just interesting, these different companies raising at different stages of maturity, just interesting to kind of get a little more context on the thought process behind raising capital.
Yeah, we don't often get into conversations around profitability. I mean, that's sort of just the nature of high growth technology in venture, but it is refreshing to hear a company mention that word, as that is ultimately the driver, right? Or the purpose of business is to make more money than the money you spend. And that does feel like a little bit earlier in the journey of a typical company like this to reach profitability, but that's great. I mean, they're on the same page with their investors. I think that's all really that matters. And so I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, they have additional revenue streams too. I mean, the average homeowner is spending over $750 each year through additional services outside of the regular base subscription. Think of like buying parts, things like that. So they have a lot of other areas for growth to think about as well. And we wanted to wrap up this segment here with a little bit more on what the new lead investor Era Ventures had to say, and that's specifically coming from managing partner Clelia Peters. She said she was drawn to invest in Honey Homes because, quote, high-quality home maintenance services provided by a dedicated handy person have typically only been available to the wealthiest homeowners or to those in condos and apartments with on-site supers, end quote, which makes a lot of sense. So it's a big opportunity to fill in a gap in the market.
Yeah, democratizing access to high-quality home maintenance services. That's another buzzword. But furthermore, she actually went on to add a couple additional reasons why Era Ventures liked this investment opportunity, including that they believe that the need for Honey Homes offering will be even greater in a world where homeowners stay in and need to maintain their homes for longer periods because of the lock-in effect that's created by the spike in interest rates, which everybody is feeling at this point. And lastly, she also added that they anticipate that the push towards home electrification will create a greater demand for reliable advice and installation services, which Honey Homes is well positioned to provide. So yeah, a variety of reasons here mentioned by Clelia Peters from Era Ventures that seem to indicate obviously conviction in Honey Homes and them being positioned in a great spot for future trends and anticipating future demand for homeowners.
Yeah. That electrification one is not one that immediately would have come to mind, but I mean, we did cover a company, the name is escaping me, but we covered a company that was creating electric appliances for homes as well. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. There's going to be an increasing need for specific types of repairs and experts. It's pretty adjacent to what Interplay does. We train skilled workers. Maybe there's potential partnership there in the future. Who knows? But love when technology is kind of blending with the blue collar industry or an industry that hasn't really benefited from technology as smoothly as it's been in other industries. So that's awesome. Love that we rounded it out there with Honey Homes. Another Pillfolio update always warms the belly with some sweet tasting honey.
Yeah. No, well said.
Anyways.
Moving on. That just about wraps up this week's dose. Another diverse dose covering all the bases. Love to include a Pillfolio update, of course, as much as we can. And yeah, hey, partner, this was our first long-distance virtual dose in a little while. Hopefully our listeners agree with me that it went pretty smoothly, but hope you're hanging in there, having a good time in Chicago, and looking forward to next week.
Yes, sir. Hey, I think it went pretty well. We found a little hack to our system. That's a secret we're going to keep close to the chest, though, because for all
proprietary. Yeah. Good call.
Yeah. No, always a pleasure. Miss being in person there with you, partner. But we'll be back together here soon, I'm sure.
Looking forward to it, partner. And for our listeners out there, you know where to find us next week. Y'all take care.
See ya. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another dose of startups and venture capital. And as always, we appreciate our pilgrims spreading the word about the show. Share with your friends and help someone else make the pilgrimage. See you next time.
She told me that she only bumps my music when she's lonely. Thinks my vibe's a little low-key, okie dokie, that's alright, but wait, I don't know how to do